Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Matt over here, ready for another episode of Steins Gate 0. So, last episode, well actually, first of all, some apologies. Last episode during the discussion part, I was calling the rounders, flounders throughout. So, that was sort of like a brain fart for me. In my mind, I was actually thinking, because I kind of forgot what they were called, so I was thinking like, are they called flounders or rounders? And for some reason my brain went to flounders, and so that is that. I guess, well, what can you say, right? They're fish, right? So anyways, my bad. But as I was saying, so I don't feel like these armed men that are bursting in this time are actually part of the Rounders. I feel like they are probably part of the other foreign faction that we've been hearing about, probably there to capture Kagri. And also considering that, I thought about it a little bit more after last episode, and I feel like probably nobody's going to die, because if based this on two parts, right? One is that at the end of last episode we saw that the barrel of the gun wasn't really, a regular gun shape, so I'm thinking maybe they're using some non-lethal means like stun guns or something. And also because I have this suspicion that if they actually were going to kill someone, that would probably be the ending of the last episode. So perhaps our friends here are going to be dodging a bullet. Pun not intended. So yeah, anyways, let's get into the episode right now and see what happens. Alrighty, beginning in 3, 2, 1, play. Hey, who knows? Maybe Braun and Moika will help. See, that guy is using an actual gun. But this guy, look at that barrel. That's not an actual gun. Oh wait, they even have automatic weapons? Damn. Oh, what? Don't tell me this is going to be like one big troll move or something. I'm gonna be so mad if that's the case. Alright, let me skip this real quick. No, probably not. Those look too... Okay. So that is a real gun. Yep, Kagari. Yep, it's the rounder screen. Wow, really? Just like that? Huh. Yep. Wasn't the rounders. Mm. That girl has got to be the professor, right, JD? Come on, just yeah, Brown is yeah. Thank you. Come on, she literally told you that there are other groups looking for her. And for a second there, I was actually kind of thinking if that was the case. Well, wow. Ah, I love all the 4chan references. Sasha remembers that. Right? Oh. Actually asking about her identity. Hmm. 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 I actually haven't thought about this like that. But yeah, he is the only one who completely doesn't know anything. At least some semblance of normality. Um, うん。 No, but if you tell it, then he's gonna. What? But. If. Like, if Okabe admits to having created time travel devices, Brown would be obligated to report that to CERN, wouldn't he? Oh, shoot. Was that. Ooh.
だって漏洩したわけじゃない。俺が最初から知っていただけだ。処分の対象にはならないはずだ。
変だな。だが間違っちゃいない。確かにセルンからは何も言われてね。俺がラウンダーだってことをおめえが黙ってらすま。え？何？こんな話をぶちまけてたってことは。あなたに頼みがある。
Well, I.
昨日やられた女性を守ってほしい。
あの嬢ちゃんは何になぜ狙われてる？話になんねえな。聞かなかったことにしてやるから。
ダメだ。昨日のようなことがあったら、娘さんはどうなる？また危険にさらされるかもしれない。
愛を人質に殺すぞ。
武力しようと言ってるんです。あなただって一人では娘さんを守りきれないかもしれない。
デメリットしかねえじゃねえか。
そんなことない。出せるもの。
ヘラ。
私とカガリをバイトとしてここに置いてくれ。手間はかからないだろう。
おめえらがビルから出ていく方が手っ取り早えな。
Yeah, I think so too.
二人とも昨日襲った連中を目撃してバレてる。それが何を意味するかわからないわけね。
バイト代は一人分しか出せねえぞ。そらそんな余分な金はねえんだ。あ？そら家賃あげんぞこら。
いいえ、ありがとうございます、天王寺さん。
より岡部。では早く連中が何者か突き止めろ。対策の打ちようがね。
わかりました。
I guess theoretically he isn't obligated to report back. He only receives orders to do something, right? And if they're not on CERN's radar. Really? Yeah.
とにかくだ。かがり一人。荒くはこの辺には近づかない方が。
でもカガリさんはどうするんです？狙われてるんですよ。
ボディーガードを
スさんと店長さんなら有利になるね。
だからも連中が何者なのか、何が目的なのかを調べるつもり。あ、それは僕の仕事かな。
秋葉の自警団にも周りを強化してもらうようお願いしたから、そう変な動きはできないはずにゃん。僕にも何か手伝えることはありませんか？カリさんが。
Hmm.
岡部さんの力にできることないかな。
かがりさんをかくまってくれ。相入りだって十分だ。
たちに。
ええ、
何ですか？
天王寺。
Earthquake in Russia. Okay. That's gotta be significant somehow. So maybe it's the Russians?
あの発音通貨はフォネティックコードだ。文体用語だ。西側のな。
部品番号とかしか出てこ
Oh, okay. I didn't expect to see a musical reference here. Yeah. Amadias. Really? That easy? And that's it?
もしもし、俺だ。
カベさん、また何かあったの？
聞きたいことが。
手短にお願い。話せない。
アマデウスはあの後、どうなっている？
できない。もしかしたらだけれど、誰かに乗っ取られた。
Or locked you out.
オカリ？
クリス。
お願い。助けて。
リーディングしたいな。
What? Okay, now that was... That was a good cliffhanger, not gonna lie. That was a good cliffhanger. Well, well, well. Okay, I'll see you guys after this. Okay, thankfully I remembered ahead of time that there was a little bit more after the ending of this episode. I believe one of you guys, D Hunter, mentioned this to me. So, let's get this going in 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, reading Steiner activated. Where are they now? Where is he now? Okay, does this mean that the Rush... I'm thinking the foreign influence is Russian, and they probably have a working time machine.
アマデウスが消えてる。世界線が変わった。変わってしまった。
What's the day? What's the day? You can check the date, right?
誰かいるのか？誰？マユリ？
What? Seriously? Wait, what? And there we go. What an ending, right? That was awesome. And you know what I love about this the most? Last episode, I was just talking about how I felt like the series was getting kind of predictable in the way that they structured their pacing and whatnot. For instance, last episode it was entirely too calm, so I was completely waiting for the twist to happen, and when it did happen, I didn't really feel anything. Well, right here, they definitely had a twist that I did not see coming at all, and that is hype, right? Especially since Kurisu is back in the flesh. Now, whether or not she actually knows Okabe here, that's probably something that we'll have to learn and see next episode. We didn't really exactly know which timeline Okabe ended up in. It could be entirely possible that the puzzled expression Kurisu is giving is because she doesn't know about Okabe that much in this timeline, or it could be that, you know, they are interacting normally and she's just kind of puzzled as to why Okabe is having such an expression on his face, right? So I guess we'll learn about that next episode. But more to the point, let's get back and talk a little bit more about everything that happened in this episode, right? Because there's a lot to unpack. So first of all, the armed men. So as expected, they weren't the Rounders. And currently I'm still clinging to my theory that they're probably the foreign... they're the foreign influence, that the foreign people that we're hearing about when Moeka was doing her investigations as well. And I still believe that the professors, or at least Professor Judy, is on their side, but at this point I'm actually thinking maybe both the professors are part of this as well. And I'm also going to go a step further and say, Rush, Well, actually, no, never mind. I was gonna say that maybe they're representing the Russian forces, you know, especially since in this episode we also see some sort of, I don't know, some sort of report where there's earthquakes happening in Russia or whatnot. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe it's because they have developed a working time machine device, and that's causing all these abnormalities. But at the same time, though, it could also be a case of a sort of a race between the Russians and, in this case, perhaps the Americans, because as I remember, Professor Alexis and Professor Judy and the university that they come from is actually from the United States, right? Because yeah, they should be from the United States. So it's also a possibility that this is sort of like the arms race that is eventually going to happen in the future between all the different superpowers of the world and trying to develop a time machine, right? So yeah, they could be Russians, or they could be trying to go against the Russians. Either way, right? But in any case, they're not on the side of Okabe, right? So that is that. And then the motorcycle girl dude, motorcycle suit girl that showed up, right? I was fairly convinced that she was probably Professor Judy, but apparently she's actually Yuki, right? We did see the scene in the cafe where Yuki was holding up her bandaged hand, which coincides with the exact same position that was kicked by Suzuha, right? So is she actually part of this as well? And you know, that throws a new wrench in the works, right? Because we do know that she is Suzuha's mom, so why is it just this timeline specific? But you know, Suzuha came from this timeline, right? Or I don't know, potentially it could also be the reason why she and Daru got together in the future, maybe? Question mark? Or perhaps it's entirely a red herring, and that's just a coincidence, right? So that's also a possibility, but somehow I don't think they go so far as to throw us off like that. And if that was actually Yuki during there, then I guess we've just had a case of on-screen domestic violence, considering Suzuha is her daughter. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, we got that entire situation, and that's what I believe the armed men are actually representing. And so yeah, indeed, they want to take Kagari, and in fact, I think they're trying to take back Kagari, meaning Kagari was probably under their control throughout all these years. Or it's a possibility that, again, if we're going with the existence of maybe two competing powers here, then perhaps Kagari was originally under the influence of one power, and now she's being kidnapped for another power, right? That's also a possibility. Yeah, the more that I think about it, the more that the two powers competing with each other kind of makes sense, right? Because let's see. So if we do say that these armed men and professors and whatnot are perhaps, for instance, under the influence of the United States, for example, then for the Russians, it might be possible that they are developing time machine technology based on the research of Kurisu and Kurisu's dad, right? Because in this timeline, not really sure how, in the end, how Kurisu's dad actually, ended up doing. Or how exactly Kurisu died in this timeline, right? Not entirely sure, because in the other timelines, it was Okabe that stabbed her, but in this one, if Okabe was never near the scene, who exactly was the cause of her death, don't really know, and so whether or not her paper actually was successfully taken by her father, who successfully escaped to Russia with the papers intact, we don't know yet, right? But if this is the case, and her father did escape with the papers intact and is now residing in Russia, it's entirely conceivable that they are working on their own time machine technology right now. And so then we have this, then it all fits together properly, right? Russians are doing time machine technology based on the research of Kurisu and Kurisu's father, whereas the United States, or whatever entity that place is representing, is, well, basing the research on, I guess, Kurisu? Not really sure here, but maybe, potentially, right? And with that, we can get all these different superpowers on hand, right? CERN is a European kind of institute, and then we got these professors come from the US, and then we got the Russians as well. And so, hey, all the superpowers are against each other. why don't we throw China into the mix as well, right? Hello. Never mind. Anyways, like I said, my point is that I think this kind of theory makes sense. Again, I'm just throwing out my thoughts in theory crafting right now. I could entirely be wrong, but I'm just saying that to me, it kind of makes sense to put the forces and powers in this kind of orientation. Beyond that, what else to talk about? Okabe's sort of negotiation with Braum, right? Now, I guess the logic here makes sense to a certain degree, right? If you think about it, Braum doesn't really have an obligation to report Okabe to CERN. He only takes orders. I don't think he's necessarily loyal enough to also tell CERN everything. He just, if CERN tells him to kill Okabe, he's gonna do it, right? But if CERN doesn't do anything or doesn't know about Okabe, then there's no reason for him to voluntarily give up this information, right? So in this kind of sense, I guess you could say this makes sense. At the same time, however, I'm still thinking this is an uneasy alliance at the very best, and I'm talking about this from Braum's perspective. Like, okay, you can say that right now because of this existence of another power, another third party here, that they can have this sort of temporary truce, temporary alliance where, for Braum, his MO is quite simple, right? He just wants the safety of his daughter, and that takes precedence over everything else, right? So in this case, okay, so in order to protect his daughter, he needs to take care of this third-party situation first. That makes sense. However, what happens when this situation is actually taken care of, right? Then, the only loose end that's still there would be Okabe. So, I mean, if in under timeline he has no hesitancy in killing off Okabe or anyone else, then who's to say that he doesn't, after they take care of the situation, Okabe would next be on his list of targets in order to type a loose end, right? You might say that this, he has no reason for doing so, but then again, how can he completely trust that Okabe isn't going to eventually spill the beans in some sort of way, right? If we, again, look back to his characterization, he wants 100% guaranteed safety for his daughter, and the only way to truly guarantee that would be to tie up any loose ends here. So, I don't know, man. This is, I guess, a calculated negotiation on Okabe's part. I'm just saying, though, we'll probably never get to that part, but what I would be expecting if they do get to the point where, say for instance, they do manage to take care of this is not that kind of, huge global plot, large-scale plot or anything, and it's just a simple third-party, gang or something, and they did take care of the situation. I would be very scared for Okabe's life at that point, because to me the logical next thing would be to kill him off. So yeah. And on that note, let's see, what else is there to say? Kurisu, I already mentioned, not really sure what kind of timeline this is, so I guess we'll just see next episode. In regards to, I guess one final thing in regards to the code, right, K6205. Now, I don't think that actually has anything to do with Mozart. I think that was just, just pure coincidence that since his middle name is Marius, and so it gave Okabe this sudden clarity of mind that, hey, maybe the perpetrators are some people affiliated with the university or with the research institutes or the professors, right? Because I think he figured that out in the end as well, knowing that Amadeus is being, has been taken control of, is offline, and really, instead of a hostile entity taking control of it, it would make much more sense if it was just some insider who did this and basically booted Maho out and all others out from gaining access to Amadeus, right? That's also a possibility as well. Or it could be a hostile hack, I don't know, but I feel like it would be much easier to explain it as a work of insiders. So, yeah, that pretty much sums up everything. I hope I didn't miss anything, but yeah, next episode, let's just see how exactly, what timeline this is. Does Kurisu know him or not? And if yes, then I guess they're going to start trying to look for who exactly has developed time travel technology. So there we go. That was episode 7, and I gotta say, the story is finally heating up, and I am getting excited. So I will see you guys next time as well. Until then, bye bye.